As we learn 4 barriers to communication in our previous video, now time to learn more 4 barriers which affects in communication. So in our previous video we learned physiological barrier, physical barrier, cultural barrier and language barrier. Now in this video we'll go through more 4 barriers which affects communication. So the first one is gender barrier. So these barrier arises because man and women have a different ways of thinking and communication. For example, women talk questions to gain understanding, while men talk to give information. These are the just example for gender barrier. Women focuses on feelings, senses and meaning. On the other hand, man focuses on facts and logic. We can say not all men or women communicate the same way as the rest of the genders, but most probably these things happen. Topics of group of men when they meet are different from women. When men meets, their topic must be sports, business, technical items and so on. When even women meets, their topics automatically gets changed from the men. It's move to gossip, food, clothes, fashions, etc. Even at workplace, women and men shares equal states, knowledge and experience. Or even we can overcome gender barrier by educating the team about gender bias and by creating safe identity workspaces. So these are the example of gender barrier and what gender barrier is all about. Now we'll move to our next barrier, which is interpersonal barrier. So interpersonal barrier includes a problem which keeps us from reaching out to each other and opening ourselves to other. This is the most difficult barrier to overcome. For example, it is very difficult to overcome a poor self-image. Various example, or we can say there are two causes of interpersonal barrier. The first one is lack of desire of participation and the second one is unwillingness. So in lack of desire of participation, this is most frustrating example actually. We are trying to communicate with other person who does not want to interact with us. So lack of desire to participate in communication is a problem and it's create barrier in communication. Now unwillingness. Some people do not want to explore different ideas or opinions and hence create barrier in communication. So all of us have to struggle to communicate with others at one point or another, and this problem can be perpetual and destructive. Some people feel uncomfortable with others due to poor self-esteem, social anxiety and so many other issues. So interpersonal barriers means inability to interact with others face to face and to exchange information through verbal and non-verbal messages. There are so many ways we can practice to improve the communication, and we can even say that we can overcome this interpersonal barrier to do this practice and improve our communication. So the first one is by using simple language we can easily connect with other people. The second one is by participating active listening we can focus on listening and responding. And the third one is stay calm and be patient to give the conversation the time it needs. So these are the 3 points that we use in our daily routine life to do practice and to improve our communication skills and overcome of this interpersonal barrier. Now we'll move to our next next barrier, which is psychological barrier. So psychological barrier of communication is the influence of psychological state of the sender and the receiver, which creates a problem for effective communication. So communication is highly influenced by mental condition of communicator and gets disturbed by mental disturbance. If the people involved in communication are not emotionally well, they will not be able to communicate properly. This is very simple thing. And here we have 6 cause of psychological barrier. So we'll go through one by one each cause. So the first one is lack of attention. When a person's mind is distracted by other things, then the person is not able to form proper message. For example, he will not interrupt the correct message and will not give a proper feedback. We'll move to our next cause, which is poor retention. Retention of information is the capacity of the brain to store information. Poor retention means brain uses information old and the process of extraction of information is also poor. So here the brain tries to remember the required information which had already been lost. So poor retention acts as a barrier to communication. The third one is emotion. The third cause in psychological barrier is emotions. Various emotions like fear, nervousness, confusion, mistrust and even jealousy affects communication process. A preoccupied mind is not good for communication. For example, when a person is angry, he might say things which regret later, as angry person might easily misinterpret the message. So these are the normal example of emotions which normally occur while communicating. The fourth one is premature evaluation. So some people are always in a hurry by habit. Some people have a habit, always they are in a hurry. So these people mostly make quick judgments and jump into the conclusion. They do not consider all aspects of the information and end up taking quick and wrong decisions. It is important to hear the whole message to make a proper judgments because they are not changed easily once they are made. So premature evaluations may most of the problems in communication and it creates psychological barrier. The fifth one is closed mind and flittering. Man is always selfish by nature, as we all know that, and put his own needs and problems above all. This sometimes leads people to filter information and that sender is trying to convey to them. This might be due to mistrust, competition or jealousy. For example, a senior in a company does not want the junior to do better work and he filters the information and will not provide crucial information so that the senior could not help the junior. So these are the closed mind and flittering example in companies that senior most probably do with their juniors. And the last cause of psychological barrier is distrust and defensiveness. So communication is successful when the communicators trust each other. Lack of trust makes them to derive negative meaning of the message and they ignore the message. When a person tries to force his own ideas and opinions, then the receiver does not listen. For example, if the receiver does not agree to the message provided, he will not listen to it. Each person has its own point of view which is shaped from his own experiences. Sender might have a particular viewpoint that is not shared by the receiver. So these are the causes of psychological barrier and some example of psychological barrier. So now time to move our last barrier of communication skills, which is emotional barrier. So emotional barrier includes emotions like fear, worry, anxiety, anger, excitement and so on, which affects speaker ability to deliver a clear message or a receiver ability to hear a message effectively. For example, a person's emotions may prevent him from discussing some topics. An angry person may struggle to communicate his message and a sad person may not listen to the advice of a close friend. Sometimes strong negative emotions can interfere with communication. This can lead to miscommunication and can hurt feelings too. Sometimes pride or the need to be right all the time can shut down effective communication. Because of pride and our need, we put in a first priority, so maybe it shut down effective communication. Many times people have that type of habit to trying to win every argument, or trying to cover emotional insecurity with the sense of superiority, makes communication ineffective. Even in emotional barrier, depression can also lead to bad feelings or irritating remarks towards loved ones. Anxiety has negative impact on the brain that manages creativity and communication skills. Now, constant worries can creates problem over ability to concentrate on the information we are giving or receiving. So all this can be managed with relaxation exercise and to do meditation. So you can overcome of this emotional barrier with to do some yoga or relaxation exercise, or even to do meditation. So these are the example of emotional barrier and what emotional barrier is all about. So here we completed with our 8 barriers to communication. Thank you.